Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Council. We are meeting today on the ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe peoples of the Robinson-Huron Treaties area. These treaties were signed in September 1850, and we honor the elders of both the past and the present, as well as the future generations of Wasauksing, Shawniga, Métis, and the Wata Mohawks. Thank you for caring and looking after the land we share today. At the beginning of this meeting and throughout the week, I urge all of us to reflect on the importance of recognizing the Indigenous lands, the treaties, and the peoples. As we think about what happened in the past, we need to focus on what changes we can make going forward to continue the reconciliation process. We are committed to furthering our understanding of the generations of Indigenous peoples with whom we share the land today. So I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask for an approval of the agenda. You do have an addendum with several pieces of correspondence added to item 5 for the public meeting. With that change, could I have an approval of the agenda? Okay, thank you. And is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Nope. So we move on. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular and closed session meetings of Council held on April 20th, 2026 as circulated. Ken as a mover and Mario as a seconder. All in favor? Thank you. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn the regular meeting to hold a public meeting and receive public comments for the following matter: the Township of Seguin official plan review and the draft official plan. Could I have a mover? Terry and Gail. All in favor of moving into the public meeting? Thank you. We have Jamie on. Okay. Bear with me as I read this. Council will now hold a public meeting regarding the municipality-initiated official plan review. The purpose and effect of the proposed official plan amendment is to update the official plan as required under sections 17, 22, and 26 of the Planning Act to make the necessary changes to reflect updated provincial policy and legislation and to provide direction on new and emerging planning issues in the township. The purpose of this public meeting is for Council to receive public comments for further consideration. Anyone wishing to receive notice of the adoption of the proposed official plan should provide your full name and address to the clerk in writing. Council will consider all matters and comments placed before it before making a decision on the proposed official plan. In accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act, if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin before the proposed official plan is adopted, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the township to the Ontario Land Tribunal. In addition, if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin before the proposed official plan is adopted, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. Council will not be making a decision respecting the proposed amendments at this public meeting. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting on the Township of Seguin's website, on the Let's Connect Seguin website, emailing to various parties and associations, posting on parrysound.com, the website for the former weekly newspapers serving the Parry Sound area, and by regular mail on April 17th, 2026. Notice was therefore considered provided in accordance with requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to this official plan review?
Correspondence has been received from various individuals and associations as noted in the agenda package and the addendum package for the May 19th meeting.
Jamie Robinson of MHBC Planning Urban Design and Landscaping Architecture, consultant for the township, will now provide a presentation on the official plan review. Hello, Jamie, and your slides are on our screen.
Good. All right. Thank you, Worship and members of council, and thank you, members of the public, for joining us here today. This is the statutory public meeting associated with the official plan review. So this is a process that's been ongoing for a few years now. And through the public process, we've had an opportunity to receive a significant amount of feedback on both the previous official plan and potential changes, and it's all culminated in the draft official plan that's been brought forward to this public meeting for consideration. So on the screen, I've outlined sort of the where we started in this sort of final phase, I'll call it, of the official plan review. I know you'd been at it for a year or so beforehand, but where we are now are in phase 3, which really started in October, and we're finalizing it now through May and June. We've got what we believe to be almost the final OP, subject to any changes that will come about as a result of comments made at the public meeting. You'll note that in the agenda package and on the website, there's also a comment summary table that's been prepared that identifies the comments that have been provided throughout this phase of the process and how those comments have been either considered or addressed through the draft documents. Oh, sorry, I'll just go back one here. So just in terms of what we heard through the process, some of the key elements were that we heard some comments on the North Seguin development area and the MZO land, and I'm just sort of categorizing some of the key areas of comments. There's a lot of other comments provided. Feedback about maintaining the environmental first principle that's outlined within the official plan, that that folks wanted to see some more direction, specifically related to campgrounds, trailer parks, mobile homes, and how those get managed. Really, that would fall under the category of sort of commercial uses that occur not only in the rural area, but also in the shoreline areas. Some comments about buildings and structures within shoreline areas and how we can better manage those structures. We get a lot of Planning Act applications for minor variances and zoning bylaw amendments. So providing additional direction to staff and decision makers on when amendments or when variances should be approved and when they shouldn't. And then also some comments on lake capacity and boating impacts. So in terms of what's in the plan really, from a growth management perspective, focuses growth to the settlement areas and to the North Seguin development area. That's the quote unquote MZO lands that have been identified. So that's the sort of principal growth management piece. We've included some updates again to the campgrounds, trailer parks, and mobile home policies. Often in the planning department, we run into questions about whether those can be expanded, those historic sort of legal non-conforming uses in many cases. They often predate the zoning bylaw. Can they add additional sites? Can they add additional trailers? We've provided some details surrounding that. Some details related to boating impact studies that would be needed to be completed for various lakes. Some additional residential unit policies. So that used to be considered as secondary units, but with provincial changes in legislation, we've provided specifics about where additional residential units are permitted. Effectively, they're permitted throughout the municipality with the exception of those shoreline areas that are outside of settlement areas. And then there's been a number of modifications to address the individual comments that have been provided. As I mentioned at the outset, we have prepared a comment summary table that's all detailed in the agenda. So any folks that are listening, if they want to see how their comments have been considered or not, please refer to that comment summary table, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions about the responses that are provided in there. From a lake capacity perspective, from a growth management perspective, we've really, in the rural areas, maintained a similar approach to what's in the current official plan. From a lake capacity perspective, we have not made changes to the lake capacity policies as part of this OP review. We've discussed it throughout the preparation of this OP and felt that if there's changes to be made to lake capacity policies, that would be appropriate to be undertaken as a separate standalone exercise. It could be a large topic if it gets opened up. I know the District of Muskoka is looking at their lake capacity policies right now and providing some more flexible development policies associated with lake capacity. We've received comments on recreational carrying capacity, which in this municipality really is related to, it's a bit of a measuring stick related to boat traffic and boater impact on lakes. There's been some discussion around applying it to small lakes. Currently, the OP doesn't apply it to small lakes. And I know council has another, I think, potential separate resolution related to how they would intend to deal with small lakes and recreational capacity in the future. From an STR perspective or short-term rental perspective, there's no modifications proposed to the OP to deal with short-term accommodations or short-term rentals. Again, that's an item that's a fairly large topic area. If it's something council does decide they want to look at, that can be done certainly as a separate exercise. Just in terms of some other key items, I know it looks like I've got ARUs on there twice, but B&Bs, there's some updated policies related to those. Upgraded campground policies we've mentioned, updated racetrack policies to deal with noise and considerations of any future proposed use related to those facilities. Rosso Waterfront Trail, we heard a number of comments about lands in the village of Rosso and the potential history related to Rosso Waterfront Trail. So there's an updated policies with respect to that in this most recent draft. And we've also provided some differentiation between tourist commercial and tourist accommodation uses. The reason for that, part and parcel of what may occur related to short-term accommodations, is that I think there's definitely a difference between short tourist commercial, which are often your marina properties that service shoreline areas and provide those commercial uses, versus accommodation, which are really related to places for people to stay, whether it's resorts, motels, hotels, those sorts of uses. Before they were lumped in together, we think they deserve unique consideration, and we've provided different policies surrounding those. With respect to shoreline areas, these are the sort of, many of these policies relate to some tweaks to help in the evaluation of Planning Act applications, be it minor variances or zoning bylaw amendments. Much of this has come through our recent review with staff and discussions with staff about how to make things better and provide additional policy framework for the review of those applications. Updated policies, again, that protect the function of marina properties. They are sort of the lifeblood for water access only properties, so to ensure that their function is maintained. Increased development setbacks. So what's proposed in the OP is, if you were creating a new lot, the setback would be 30 meters for new development. Whereas if it's an existing situation, 20 meters. It's 20 meters across the board in the official plan currently. But to address sort of more recent standards and allow better opportunities for vegetation preservation in the front yard, the recommendation has been to go to 30 meters, which aligns with Ministry of Natural Resource recommendations for protection of water courses and water bodies. They encourage a 30-meter setback. We've also provided some direction in the zoning bylaw for increased setbacks related to space extensive uses. Those are things like large pools, sports courts that might exist or might be proposed in the shoreline area. We provided for increased setbacks. Really that relates to the views and the vegetation removal that's required to construct those features. Often if they're closer to the shoreline, there may be fill and excavation required because of often more sloped shoreline areas or more slope in proximity to shoreline. So there's been a OP policy to really push those back from the shoreline to maintain the natural features and shoreline amenity and sort of reduce the sound impacts that often occur from those structures. We've also provided some policies to align the boathouse permissions in the OP with what's in the zoning bylaw. So in terms of next steps, what we'll do is take the comments that are provided by members of the public and council today or in writing shortly after, and then we would prepare an updated recommendation report and official plan for adoption. What happens then is it gets shipped off to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing once council adopts the document. They are the approval authority. They would then make modifications to the official plan as they see fit because they're the approval authority. Historically, the ministry has been fairly cooperative with municipalities through that approval process, and they'll let you know what changes they're making. Sort of my recent experience is they're less so cooperative, that they're more of this government's more of the position of here's the changes we're making and here they are, and we've made the changes and we've approved your document. So just as a heads up that it may not be as collaborative of a process as my experience as it has been in years past. So just as a heads up. So with that, and if council, for example, adopts the plan and identifies, wow, we've got this new thing, new issues come up, we'd like it included in the plan, we can always council could provide a resolution and direction to the province to incorporate a change to an adopted official plan. I've seen that happen in a number of instances. I just think it's important to recognize that because you might think it's your last kick at the can, but these things through to its adoption can be changed, and you can always amend them after adoption. So thank you very much, your worship and members of council, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much. I just came back from the FONOM conference and Minister Flack was saying OPs are going through our ministry very quickly, but he didn't discuss whether he was talking about his changes. He just said, we're going faster.
That's why, because they're not asking for permission to change.
Okay. Is there anyone present in person in the council chambers who wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition to this official plan review? No, that's not why you're here. Okay. Has anyone registered to speak to this official plan review and draft via electronic participation?
Alexandra Brown of our Muskoka Stakeholders Association and Peter Trins have registered to speak to the official plan review and draft official plan via electronic participation. I don't see Alexandra in the waiting room. However, Peter Trins is present.
Okay, Mr. Trins, since you are on screen, we'll ask you to speak first. Your correspondence is in our addendum package that we received today as well. So please introduce yourself and your address if you don't mind.
Yeah, I just have to figure out how to use the mute button and I'll be all set.
Okay, we can hear you fine. Thank you.
Great. So I'm Peter Trins. My wife and I own a house in the village of Rosso at 7 Rice Street. So it's kind of a couple doors down from the general store, just to give you some context. So I appreciate the chance to speak to the council and appreciate this. I was actually at the meeting, the official plan review meeting in January. I had a chance to meet with Taylor Elgie and his staff, and I think they did a great job on a very comprehensive document, obviously. I know this document has been around for a while. It continues to get updated, and I think they've done a great job in meeting the needs of the times and the needs of all the people in Seguin Township. So we appreciate that. Appreciate the time that I had there in January to speak to him. One thing that did come up, which concerned me, was there was a gentleman there who spoke about the shoreline road access, or the shoreline road allowance, and talking about allowing anybody in Rosso and any place else, I guess, to just attach mooring for their boats wherever they wanted along that shoreline road access. He thought that that was the kind of the right of anybody to be able to do that. Obviously, the shoreline road allowances have had a pretty long history. They came about, I think, in the 1800s to allow people that were in distress on the lake to actually come ashore. That was kind of the main reason for it. That's a bit of an archaic type of reason nowadays, with all the docks and public access and all that on the lake. But I was a little bit concerned because it seemed like he had this attitude that you know, anybody could build whatever they wanted on the shoreline. And I do back onto Rosso Bay. There are a number of boathouses nearby. And we do have the shoreline road allowance, which is called Water Street. I guess technically it's called Water Street, along our shore. We actually own the water lot just adjacent to that as well. So it's a bit of a, you know, it's like a 3-meter wide band that goes across our, between ourselves and the lake, even though we own the water lot as well. And that's the same situation as a couple of our neighbors as well. So I just wanted to address the fact that this gentleman raised that issue that there should be, you know, public access along the shoreline. Water Street, I mean, to put a road there, it's just completely impractical because of the topography. And our neighbor at 5 Rice Street has a cliff that pretty much goes down to the water. So there's no way that anybody can do access along that shoreline unless they do some blasting. And their cottage is very close to that, to the shoreline road allowance as well. So if you don't mind, I will share. I got a couple slides. I think I sent them along. Can I share something? Is that possible?
Yeah, you should be authorized to share your screen.
Okay, well, I'm pressing share. Oh, yeah, okay, there it is. Great. Thank you. Okay. So can you guys see that?
Not yet, but we may have it in our agenda, we have the pictures in our addendum package that you attached, so.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll just run through it. You know, the gentleman that was talking about, you know, this ability for anybody to, you know, put moorage along the shoreline road allowance anywhere they wanted. He supposedly said that it was due to some historical covenant in an earlier, in an early official plan. And you know, I did speak with your director of planning, Taylor, and he helped me look through some of the old official plans, including the one from 1980, and that covenant doesn't exist anywhere. And the points I wanted to make was that, in fact, the original official plan, which I think all the subsequent official plans were kind of based on, the authors put in place guidelines to prevent further cluttering of Rosso's waterfront because it is fairly cluttered. And just to let you know, we bought the property at 7 Rice Street, which contained a building called the Slanty Shanty. A lot of people named it the Slanty Shanty. It was really an eyesore on the lake. And we spent an awful lot of money getting rid of it and replacing it with a house that I think blends in quite well. My wife and I did a lot of work in trying to bring the shoreline back to you know, its natural condition. We planted a lot of native trees like larches and white pines and spruces and maples and other native trees there to kind of bring it in line with what the official plan actually talks about, which is to, you know, bring it back to what it looks like more naturally. That official plan in 1980, which, like I said, has been subsequently built upon, also recognized that the existing non-compliant and authorized boathouses that are along the water, some of them don't. Some of them are actually orphan boathouses because they don't belong to any abutting or adjacent properties, and the official plan from 1980 said that they weren't conducive to presenting the village of Rosso in a positive light as a tourist destination. So, another thing that the official plan does say is it does say that people do have the right to access the lake. And I think in the meantime, in the years since those official plans were done, that has been accomplished by the terrific park that exists on Rosso Bay. There's a beach there. There's all kinds of public docking. Everybody has access to that very easily from Highway 141. There's also access through road allowances on Oak Street and Ash Street and Rice Street as well. So there's no problem as far as public access to the lake. So, I have a problem being on the lake and having frontage that backs onto the lake. I have a problem with people thinking that they could just install, a dock there because, of some historical covenant, apparently. And if you look at the second, or I guess it's the third slide, there's a couple pictures there, and we just took this recently. There's a few boathouses there that don't belong to anybody that's, that owns property along the lake. And they're definitely dilapidated. There's garbage all over the place. It's just been accumulated. There's plastic. There's, old surfboards. There's old tires. We've had a lot of pollution in fact, from one of these boathouses where gas cans have spilled over into the water, and there's been oil slicks all over the water. So you can see that when people don't actually own the property that's adjacent, they actually don't care for it, or in some cases, maybe they're just abandoned. And we don't think that reflects really well on the village of Rosso because, a lot of people come in for the markets on Friday. There's a lot of tourists in the area, and we've got a whole bunch of properties that just aren't taken care of because the people who actually own the adjacent properties don't own that shoreline road allowance. So, what I'd like to suggest to the council is that the people in the best position to support the township's goals of maintaining the beauty of Rosso's waterfront, as well as the environment, are the owners of the adjacent properties. We're the stewards of those properties. We have motivation to, make them nice and to support the township's goals. And I'd like to suggest that the township's vision is best served by giving the adjacent property owners, like myself, the exclusive option to buy the adjacent piece of shoreline road allowance. Because this issue seems to continually come up, and it's been coming up for decades from what I understand. So that's just what I'd like to suggest to the council. Like I said, people have access to the lake all over the place around Rosso Bay, and there's a bunch of boathouses at the base of the Oak Street Road allowance. They can get there. People can access those boathouses via a stairwell that comes down off the cliff, and people can access the lake at the end of Rosso Bay on the Ash Street Road allowance as well. So anyway, I just wanted to let the council know that I did write a couple letters to your planning director back in January. I think I included a copy of those as well. And if you could read those, they're a little bit more involved, and there's a lot more logic and reference to some of these official plans. And if you would consider that, I would appreciate that greatly. So that's it from me. Any questions?
Thank you very much for the input, and your comments will be taken seriously. And yes, your January correspondence, as well as the photographs, are in our addendum for today's package. I do also want to point out that council and staff are in the process of a review of the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Master Plan, which will include a look at all of the waterfronts that Seguin has, including Rosso Bay.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much for the time you've put into the correspondence.
Okay.
We have...
And who is I'm sorry, just one more quick question. You mentioned the Parks, Culture, and Waterfront. There's a committee or something?
It's Parks, Recreation, and Culture Master Plan is underway, and it can be found at seguin.ca, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. Our CAO would like to fill you in a little bit.
Okay.
There is just looking really quick, we're hosting an open house on Thursday, May 28th. from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Humphrey Community Center to review that plan and some of the recommendations and suggestions that are being put forward before that plan reaches its final stages. So that's a key date for those that are interested.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And
Thanks
any
for the
further,
opportunity to address you guys.
yeah, any further that you want to see in this master plan would be at seguin.ca under the title Parks, Recreation and Culture Master Plan.
Okay.
But
Great, thank you very much.
I'm sorry, I directed you wrong. Not under seguin.ca, under Let's Connect Seguin.ca. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
Does council have any questions for Mr. Trins? Councillor Finson?
I don't have any questions, but if you'd like to know the history of that waterfront and those lots on the waterfront, I'd be happy to share them. Several of the people have owned those properties for 70 years. I believe I spoke with you about it when you first bought your home, about about it being a public space. So if you'd like to know more about the history of the property, and I know everybody who owns all of the properties, and there was always a rule that we had to keep them maintained. That is a part of owning those. So that is something that you could address sooner than later if you wanted to. So if you'd like to know anything, I do know a little bit of the history. It's not the time and the place probably, but if you want to know more, I can let you know everybody who owns all of the properties and what their historical attachment is. Most of them are 60 to 75 years that have owned them. So they've been here a long while. So if you want to know, I've got some info if you'd like it. That's all.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Gail. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is Alexander Brown with us?
No.
So we have no further comments on the official plan at this time. There's a summary again, as Jamie referred to, of all of the correspondence that's been received over several years. And so with that, we will move on to completion. Does council have any questions? Councillor Bazinski.
Thank you. Just one question, and then I had a proposed change. But the question is, with respect to the settlement areas, you have the MZO lands, which clearly don't have any services or anything similar to what you have at Humphrey or Rosso or the settlement areas defined in the official plan. Perhaps you could give us a little background on, does that commit the township to providing services, having that designation in the official plan?
Through your worship to the councillor, I think the question was, does the MZO designation commit the municipality to servicing that area? Is that okay? It doesn't commit the municipality to servicing it specifically. It does allow for growth to happen there. If growth is to occur there would have to be a servicing strategy developed, either A, by the landowner, B, by the municipality, or C, in partnership with the landowner and municipality or group of landowners. But it doesn't obligate the municipality to install services there.
Thank you. So to my main question, and it relates to recreation carrying capacity, I'd like to say that I was very pleased, as I think the associations, that the township has kept the lake capacity calculations and background in the official plan going forward. It provides a measure of development that is environmentally responsible and conforms to our environmental first policy. So I commend you on that. One thing I would say, and I don't want to date myself, so I'm not going to tell you the years of my undergraduate and graduate degree, but on both of those degrees, they related to carrying capacity, biological recreation, and other. And then in 1975, when I joined the Ministry of Natural Resources at that time, they didn't designate forestry. At that time, they were doing lake planning. So we actually, when I was the district planner in Sudbury, one of my responsibilities was to apply these carrying capacity calculations to numerous lakes in the Sudbury region so that we could develop some cottage lots. And we did develop some cottage lots using the carrying capacity limitations. Now, in the documents that were produced by the provincial government, there was no differentiation between lakes of any size. So that aspect of the lakes over 40 hectares, the reason for that, my understanding is that it was in the 11th hour of a former official plan review when the mayor was David Kahn, and Mayor Kahn wanted that put in, and it was put in. There's no rationale for it because the recreational carrying capacity, in my experience, was used as a social crowding indicator. It's been changed by many to say, okay, you know, you couldn't put that number of boats on the lake and so on and so forth. It had nothing to do with the actual number of boats on the lake. It just said if you had this number of cottages, they could have that number of boats on average, and on the size of the water body, it would be too crowded. And that's the way it was used by the provincial government. It was used that way by a lot of planning studies that were going on then. In my first term in council and in this term, we have had a few small lakes under 40 hectares that have applied to go forward, and causing great disruption to existing cottage people on those small lakes. And I would like to put a resolution forward to council that we drop that. I'm going to ask the clerk how we can do it, but I have a seconder too in the name of Ken Adams over here. And the resolution is that all lakes in Seguin Township be treated the same in terms of recreational carrying capacity, not just those over 40 hectares.
Okay, we're in a public meeting now, so the resolution has to wait till you come out of public meeting.
Correct.
So we move on. Council will now close the public meeting with a resolution. I have a motion that the public meeting held for the following matters is hereby closed and the regular meeting is hereby reconvened. So the Township Official Plan Review public meeting is now closed and the comments will be looked at by Planning and MHBC. Could I have a mover to come out of public meeting? Terry and Gail. All in favor? Thank you.
First resolution is to receive the staff
Yep.
report recommendation, and the second one is Councillor Buzinski's.
Okay, I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive staff report number PL 2026-059, and Council directs staff to consider the comments received at the public meeting and through the public process and return to Council with an updated draft of the Township of Seguin official plan for consideration and adoption. Could I have a mover, Ken? And a seconder? Greg? All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion here. Just a question, have you reviewed this motion with our planning staff in advance of the meeting?
I've had discussions with the Director of Planning. I didn't specifically discuss the wording of the resolution with him.
Okay, so I have a motion that all lakes in Seguin Township be treated the same in terms of recreational carrying capacity, not just those over 40 hectares. And that is moved by Mario Bazinski and seconded by Ken Adams. So is there any discussion by Councillor Fellner?
Well, I'll lead off. I'm not going to support this. I'm kind of tired of, this approach where getting sandbagged. But sandbagged on future issues, and it just seems to me that this particular council has a propensity to try to sandbag things through without going through the right format. I have absolutely no problem in entering into a discussion and exploring the pros and cons of the proposal, but I'm not prepared to support it as a knee-jerk reaction at the last minute. That's not the way things are done, right? In my book. And you want to do that, that's fine. But I mean, you literally just, you just literally threw this thing on the table in front of everybody. And to me, that's not showing any respect to your fellow councilors, the mayor, the planning staff. So I think you're totally out of order. And that's the end of that.
Just hang on. Any other councillor? Councillor Getty.
No, I think that, and it's a question that bears asking, why is there a difference between carrying capacity over 40 hectares and under 40 hectares? And it would seem that it's something that, needs to be brought forward at this time, is the right time to bring it forward when we're looking at the official plan, because we do have that differentiation in it. I actually am on a lake under 40 hectares, so I understand the difference, the lack of review being on a smaller lake. But I think I'd like to see it brought forward. I'd like to see it discussed. What are the pros and cons of it being included in the official plan? Because if there was no restriction in the past when Councillor Brzezinski started out, and then somewhere in between, I don't know what the reason would be why it would have been split at 40 hectares. And is now the time for us to just clean this up with the official plan and have a consistency relative to the environmental and social impacts on the waters within Seguin Township? Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Bazinski.
Well, I think if Councillor Fellner would care to review the package in our agenda, you'll notice a number of the lakes in Seguin Township have brought that up as an issue. The fact that there is this 40 hectare restriction on small lakes. And prior to that, there was a review of the official plan that was done, and numerous lake associations also brought up the fact that there was no reason to distinguish between 40 hectares and above. And so this is something that isn't sandbagging. This is something that has not been addressed. And if you look at your package, you'll see them, Terry. There's a number of lake associations that have raised that, and I raised it before as well. And it hasn't been changed. So I guess the question is, for me, I think we need to bring it forward because it hasn't been addressed. And in the old official plan, there was no 40 hectare limit. In provincial government policy, the way they did lake planning, there was no 40 hectare limit. So my concern is that I've seen a number of small lakes where there were a limited number of residents and they were under extreme duress because there were other cottages planned, one or two more cottages and so on. And I'd like to get this issue resolved. And since the consultant, and don't get me wrong, I think the consultant's done a great job, but I think this is one area that hasn't been addressed that should be addressed. And so that's why I'm bringing it forward. It's not that I want to sandbag anybody. I just want to make sure this now gets discussed and resolved. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Finson.
My comment was different than it is now. My first comment was going to be, how do you know like, is there a formula for 40 and above and 40 and under? And I'd like to see it, but not in this way. I think it would be nice if it was passed back to the people who are doing the official plan and we can ask them to put something in there and reasons why, the pros and cons of having all legs. I'd like to see all of them looked at environmentally and with carrying capacity, absolutely. But I don't think I'm ready to support a motion. I would be happy to see that in the official plan, the final official plan, the reasons why it's a good idea. I'd like to see it come from staff.
Thank you very much. Councillor Collins, do you have a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm also on a lake under 40 hectares as well. And I was surprised that this did come forward, to be honest with you, but I don't think it was in bad form, or what Terry called it, a sandbag, and I don't believe that at all. But I think we should be discussing this a little further than yeah, Mario. At this time, I think it should be discussed, but to give it a yes or no vote right now, I think it could be a little dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask the Chief Administrative Officer to refer back to the procedural motion about bringing resolutions to council.
Thank you, Worship. The council's procedural bylaw, which you at your will can change or waive provisions within it. However, the procedural bylaw does speak, and I don't have it in front of me, I apologize, so I'm paraphrasing, but I've encouraged members of council to follow this process. Is if you want to bring a notice of motion, to provide notice of a motion so that at the next meeting there can be a discussion about it. In this circumstance, if you wanted to provide a notice asking us to investigate something, that's fair too. But typically what we've encouraged council members to do, and many of you have done it, is provide notice today that at the next meeting you're going to bring forward a motion. But again, that's at your will, council, to say we want to waive that provision and move something forward immediately or not. But just wanted to share that's where we are.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly believe that this is feedback that should be given to the consultant to consider, educate council and the public about why yes, why no, why 40, not 60, why all those questions. However, bringing a resolution forward without notice of motion does feel like it's thrown at council without the proper investigation by staff. And so I cannot support a resolution without a notice of motion. So Councillor Getty is first, then Councillor Fellner.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to say that, I from a personal point of view, I appreciate the issue that's being brought forward by Councillor Brzezinski, but I think my understanding of the public meeting, I know we're out of the public meeting now. Maybe I don't know if we have to go back into it to have that discussion with Jamie, but I think there's obviously a feedback, which is what you were looking for from both the public and from council. And I think it's fair to say, and I'm not paraphrasing for anybody, but I think, in my opinion, there is a will or a want to review the differentiation between under 40 and over 40, and that there needs to be, in my opinion, a review looking at consistency right across the board. And if that is what is the takeaway from this, my understanding is that there is an opportunity for that review and or those changes coming forward. If at that time those changes aren't made, then it may be a very different situation and a very different discussion. I'm not looking to, go against your resolution. I don't know whether it needs to be deferred or whether it needs to be brought forward after that impact or after that input from council saying, please look at a consistency right across the board. You know, personally, I don't see why there's a difference. I've never understood why there's a difference between under 40 and over 40. Maybe somebody can educate me to it, and I'm open to that. But I think that's one of the things that I would like to see come out of this. And how we get to that, I'll leave that up to the experts. Thank you.
Counselor Fellner and then Counselor Bazinski.
So what I'm objecting to, Mario, is just the manner. I'd support you 100% on a directive to staff to bring back a report and a resolution to consider at a future meeting. The other thing in the report, what I'd appreciate is perhaps a list of these lakes that are under 4, right? I mean, because I think I very well own some property on one as well, but I'm not really sure how big it is, you know? So to me, that would be helpful, right? And I think it would put the matter in a lot more context. We know Trout Lake is, we know Maple Lake is. I didn't know either of that before this started. You know what I mean? That was my sort of bone of contention here. I'd be ready to support you, but I need to have the information to be able to do that. So I apologize if I kind of got a little upset with you, but I like things to be done the way they're supposed to be done. So
Counselor Bazinski.
I'll accept my apology.
Thank you, Terry. Being a planner, I have fairly strong shoulders to accept all sorts of criticism and so on. I'm quite prepared to withdraw that. My only concern is that, you know, in spite of the concerns raised by numerous lake associations at this point of the official plan review and previously, really there was no rationale for keeping it in or deciding to take it out. So I'd be quite happy to, as I say, to withdraw the motion and have staff and our planning consultant review it. And if necessary, I'm quite happy to provide information because both of my undergraduate and graduate theses dealt with carrying capacity and lake planning. So, yeah, so I'm quite happy. I think maybe I did a shock effect thing more than I needed to do. So I apologize too. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I consider the motion withdrawn? Okay, and we'll do that with the clerk's help. But Mr. Robertson would like to speak now. Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Maybe to help, it'll help move things along. But I think what I'm hearing today is that in our comment summary table, we just indicated there's no changes being proposed. It seems like council's interested in entertaining changes, provided there's justification. So what we can do as part of this review is review the pros and cons about including 40 or under 40 hectare lakes or not, prepare a map that illustrates what lakes fall into that category, and then provide some background about why the 40 hectare and under was separated into a different category in the first place, which I was around when the first OP was prepared. It was, I can speak to the last point, is my recollection is that it was because on those smaller lakes, there isn't a high propensity for a lot of larger boats and boats that cause those boating impacts associated with recreational capacity. But we can dig into it more and get some more detail associated with that. So the council can make an informed decision.
Thank you. I think that's our goal, is to make an informed decision, understand the pros, understand the cons. What are we opening up if we start drawing a limit on the lakes? So what I'm hearing is we'd all like to learn a little bit more of the history and what is involved in changing it. So thank you. Now, I need the clerk's help here.
Says yes, Councillor Adams.
Yeah, I think so.
Easy to just withdraw.
Okay. So Councillor Bazinski, are you prepared to withdraw this?
I am prepared to withdraw it.
And Councillor Adams, are you prepared? Okay. Thank you. And MHBC and our planners have some work to do to educate us a little bit. I think what you're asking for is some feedback from all of us that we'd like to understand how it got to where it is. So I don't know, how does that information come back to us? Go ahead.
So how I'm going to propose we come back is when we make the recommendation report on the OP, we'll have a section in it that deals with this. And how we can structure it is if our recommendation is status quo, for example, leave those RCC policies as is, we can have a second option available to council that if council wants to approve it with a revised section in it, then they can choose option number 2. And then we would make that update to the OP after the council meeting before we send it off to the ministry. So we're not having different staff reports and it's all in one.
Great. Thank you. Withdraw. Okay, thank you. And I think just for all of us, let's stick to the policy. You need to bring forward a motion of notice the meeting before a resolution is introduced. That is in our procedural bylaw. Okay. Thank you very much, Jamie. I don't know if you're back on the agenda later or not. Watch the driving as it pours rain outside. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the staff reports as presented on the agenda for the May 19th meeting of Council. And you have a list of those. Could I have a mover to bring that forward? Greg? Gail? All in favor? And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby agree in principle to the proposed delegations of authority as outlined in the staff report on CL 2026-003 and directs staff to prepare the required bylaws to delegate the authorities for council consideration at a future meeting. Ken and Mario, and are you going to speak to this or Andrea? Andrea, are you online? Hello.
Hi,
Deputy
yes, I
Clerk.
am. Hello.
Thanks a million.
So yes, thank you, Mayor McDermott. In your report, the package lays out the delegated authorities that are currently in place, as well as new ones that staff are proposing. If council agrees in principle to the proposed delegation, then staff will prepare the documents and bring them back for council consideration at a new meeting. Here, if council has any questions.
Does council have, Councillor Getty, okay?
It's not a big question. Don't worry. The issue, the only one that I wondered about was on page 306, Public Works Area Municipal Weed Inspector, specific appointment for Debbie Allen. I understand that she may be trained in it. I'm just wondering why it's not a position and then she slotted into the position. I don't know. Is it, and I'm not looking to cause an issue with it, but it was the only one that was person specific.
Okay, our clerk is going to respond to that.
Council actually has to appoint a weed inspector it's the ministry that looks after agriculture and farming and whatnot, and we have to send them the bylaw. No,
There's the answer.
and it's looked at yearly, sorry.
Okay, and that's reviewed annually. So if the name of the person changes, I guess we advise agriculture that the person has changed. Thank
And I
you.
was only looking
Good
at
question.
succession planning point of view. That was all.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor, moved by Ken and seconded by Mario. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea. Whoops, it's gone. I have a motion as per staff report CS 2026-003, Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby authorize and direct staff to have property identification number, that's a PIN, 52199-0513 and PIN 2199-0514 consolidated and merged into one title to meet requirements under the building code for the issuance of a building permit for the proposed Rossville Memorial Hall revitalization project. But I haven't, Gail is a mover. Seconder? Greg? All in favor, or first, are any questions of Dominique? No questions, everybody. Oops, Councillor Bazinski.
Just a quick question, and it might be our planning director that could answer it, but why wouldn't these pins have merged if they're owned by the same property owner?
Can you take that, Taylor?
Certainly, through your worship. These pins, I believe, are different lots on a plan of subdivision, so they will not inadvertently merge. The merger of lots inadvertently is a little bit, it varies with the circumstances on how the lots were created, when they were created. So typically, once a consent, always a consent, or lots on a plan of subdivision don't merge. But if they're created at a certain period of time, they might still. So it's a little bit of voodoo to it.
Thank you. And recognize the municipality has changed 3 times. It was the municipality of Rossville, then it became the municipality of Humphrey, and now it's the municipality of Seguin. So who knows what happened in between all of those? All in favor? Thank you. And that is carried. I have a motion that whereas as the Rossville Memorial Hall is a property designated under the Ontario Heritage Act, council approval is required for alterations to the building. Therefore, be it resolved that Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby approve the proposed scope of work for the renovations to the Rossville Memorial Hall as per staff report number CS 2026-004. Could I have a mover? Councillor Finson, I knew you'd be first off the grid. And Councillor Adams. Dominique, do you want to tell us a little bit about what's next?
Sure. So this report seeks council's approval to proceed with the proposed renovations. Now that the design has been updated and fairly finalized at this point, we had to wait for those documents before we could get this heritage permit. Because we do not have a municipal heritage committee, the decision rests with council for approval. So really, it's not something new you've seen. This is the same renovation, just refined and updated in some of the design work, and just an approval process to get that heritage permit.
Just a question. When will work begin?
That is a good question. We're moving quite quickly now. We'll be into our construction tendering. It will depend on the funding. We're still waiting on NOHFC, which we may find out about in August, but that is not a confirmed date. So we are just waiting.
Okay, and I have a question for you from this morning's tea party at the library. How long will the library keep operating in the Memorial Hall?
We're in touch regularly, Stephanie and I, about when the building process will begin and when they will need to remove their items. We will try and find them a location that they can open if they wish. And then the time period through the renovation is based on the documents so far will be probably around 11 to 12 months. So that's what we're looking at for the whole process.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bazinski?
So Dominique, just so I'm clear, these renovations are the internal renovations in the hall and adding on at the back of the hall, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so it doesn't pertain to removal of the firehouse or any of that stuff?
No.
Okay,
No.
thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you. And that's carried. I have, this is coming back to us, a motion that bylaw number 2026-039, being a bylaw to amend the Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-010-005-02400 at 13 Hoodwink Road for Resiki, R 2025-0017-H is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by Councillor. This was originally moved by Councillor Getty and seconded by Councillor Finson on April 20th. And then it was deferred to May 19th. And so we have it back. I think the explanation of changes and is very comprehensive in your agenda package. And so the motion still stands. It's on the table. Are there any further comments or on it? It is a teeny tiny lot that hasn't got a lot of options. No, all in favor. And that is carried. Thank you. It's about as big as a postage stamp. I have a motion that as per the recommendation of staff report number RD 2026-001, Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby endorse the next phases of environmental investigation and authorizes Tulloch Engineering to undertake the next phases of an environmental investigation and ministry consultation to facilitate the conversion of the existing Aggregate Resources Act license for the Seguin landfill from Class B pit to quarry Class A pit and quarry, and the cost of undertaking not to exceed $59,000. Could I have a mover to this? Ken Adams. Seconded. Councillor Fellner. Tom, can you explain it a little bit and then we'll open it up for questions?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and members of council. So if you remember, last year brought forward an idea that we all kind of agreed on to explore the opportunity or the feasibility of upgrading the Class B pit that we currently use, and we only use it for winter sand. Now we're working with Tulloch, and I see Graham is online. I know he had some power issues last night with the storm, so it's glad to see him on here. And the intent is to upgrade or apply for a new application to a Class A pit, which can essentially make gravel. We have a lot of gravel roads, and the prices are not going down, so this might be an opportunity to see the feasibility of actually creating our own gravel down the road. The benefit of doing these little bite-sized pieces, there's some pros and cons to it, is we can keep the operating costs or the feasibility costs down year over year, but we're on a kind of a little bit timeline because some of these reports may expire. They may have to go back from the ministry. So I'll let Graham kind of lead the charge for the second half here, as he's been heavily involved in this whole process. He has some great insight. So I'd just like to introduce Graham Huizenga. How do you pronounce your last name? I'm so sorry.
Huizenga.
From Huizenga. Thank you. From Tulloch.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. Good afternoon, Your Worship, members of council. I'll have to apologize in advance for the awkward setup here. I am still without power from last night, and we've got another round of storms rolling in, so we'll see what happens, but I made it here. So, yeah, the purpose of coming on today was firstly just to introduce myself and kind of on behalf of the project team that's been working with Tom over the last year and a bit to kind of set up the background for this project. So I myself am a land use planner out of Tulloch's Huntsville office. I've been working out of Huntsville for about 10 years, worked on a number of quarry and aggregate projects, And over the past while, we've been kind of assembling a team that will ultimately be responsible for securing your Aggregate Resources Act license to upgrade, or I should clarify, there is no, unfortunately, mechanism under the Aggregate Resources Act to upgrade from a pit to a pit and quarry. You basically have to start from scratch with a fresh submission under the current regulation. So that's basically what is before you today, is kind of the first piece of that puzzle fitting together. Mainly the environmental work is what's before you today. And that will, I think, be, it usually is, the chief determinant of how much of the property that we're looking at that can actually be effectively leveraged for extraction and processing. Once we net out things like species at risk habitat, wetland features, streams and rivers and creeks and things like that, we'll have a very good sense when applying, regulatory required buffers and things of that nature, how much of the property is actually going to be available for extraction. As you all know, there's already some sand extraction happening on the property, although it's limited to kind of the northern portion of the property there. So beyond that, to the south and the west of that existing limit of extraction is kind of an unknown. So Tulloch's environmental group did prepare kind of a high-level desktop assessment of potential features that are worth looking into further. And so the kind of work before you today, proposed before you today, would be to undertake that work, mostly from an environmental perspective, including field work, review of on-site features, and kind of starting to compile together all that information so that we can prepare what's called a natural environment report, which is one of the kind of keystone reports that the Ministry of Natural Resources requires in support of a submission for an ARA license. And as Tom mentioned, I totally understand the desire of council to kind of split this off into manageable bite-sized chunks. However, of course, I would encourage that if this is going ahead, that the work be conducted as kind of in rapid succession as possible. We are actually dealing with a situation right now with another quarry that I'm working on in Whitestone Township, wherein the very recent change led by the province from the Species at Risk Act to the new Species Conservation Act has actually thrown a big wrench into the approval timelines of my client, because we had some recommendations related to eastern hognose snake habitat on that property. And with the change in legislation, our consultation with the Ministry of the Environment and Conservation of Parks staff is basically that they're not even really sure how to deal with this change yet. So we've basically kind of been put on pause until that can be sorted out. And so that's kind of the risk that runs with preparing studies over the course of several years. However, all that said, I totally understand the desire to kind of split this work apart, and we will do what we can to kind of string the work together and make sure that all the pieces are talking to each other. And that's kind of where I come in as a project manager. We'll be overseeing the putting those pieces together and ensuring that the overall project makes sense for the township. And Tom will, of course, be steering the ship in that regard. So I just, I wanted to make myself available today and kind of introduce myself on behalf of the project team. Unfortunately, I don't have any of my materials with me because all I've got is my phone in front of me here. But I'd be happy to answer any questions at a high level that council might have of me. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much. And I just want to remind council before they go into questions that this 59,000 is already included in the 2026 capital budget. Councillor Finson. Any other questions? Councillor Fellner.
Yeah, just for clarity, did you say that one of the findings that you'll be returning to us after your study's done is possible maximum yield? like material available for extraction?
I believe Graham just froze. So yes, to answer the question, yes,
So
we'll be
that's
able to find it.
that's one piece of information we'll get out of Graham's report. Since
That's
he said
correct.
Frozen in time. Okay, next on.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes, I have a question.
Counselor Collins, yeah.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Is Graham back on, Tom, or no?
He's still frozen in time.
It looks like he's frozen, and Huntsville still doesn't have any power, so that's what he's suffering from. So try Tom for an answer.
Okay. Well, so in other words, Tom, this isn't his first quarry, right?
Graham is back online now. I
Oh,
see him.
okay.
Okay.
Hi, Graham. Sorry.
I'm going to turn my camera off, Council. Hopefully you can hear me. Sorry about that. There's obviously some shenanigans going on with the weather here.
Okay.
Yeah, so the question.
Okay,
Sorry,
yes,
go ahead.
Graham. Obviously, you have done more than one in the past, correct? Of these studies.
Through your worship, that's correct. I've been involved in a project management role in several quarries, and our team at Tulloch has been involved in many more, including our enviro folks and engineering folks.
Okay, so I'm just looking for a ballpark from start to finish. If phase one is 59,000, what are we looking at to get to the finish line? Ballpark.
It's a tough question. Through your worship, the way that these studies kind of work is that the later studies are often contingent on the earlier ones. So, for instance, when Tom and I were discussing this very topic, we prepared a few estimates for some of the background studies. I believe, Tom, we got you this one that's currently in front of council related to the natural environment study. We got you one for the archaeological and heritage component, and one from Azimuth related to the high water table reporting. And that high water table reporting also kind of feeds into the maximum yield that you might expect to get out of the property. So we have those numbers. I unfortunately don't have them in front of me right this second. But the two later reports related to noise, vibration, and blasting are still up in the air because those tend to be informed by the quarry design itself. And the quarry design, in turn, is informed by the results of these initial studies. So it can really range widely, but I'd be hesitant to even throw a number out there, to be honest. Not because I'm trying to be mysterious about it, but we do have estimates for the natural heritage, archaeological, and high water table reporting, and that's a significant chunk of it. And Tom, maybe you've got that number in front of you. Unfortunately, I don't have anything in front of me, but
we're working on it.
Tom, can you help?
I believe it was another additional $72,000 for those works, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just going by. I don't have that part up because we weren't proceeding with it this year, so I gotta go find it. My apologies.
Well, and I think the whole point of evaluating the benefit of the quarry is we probably won't proceed unless it's a cost positive for us in the end. So whatever we spend, we got to recover in what the recommendation is. Okay, any further questions? Nope. We have a motion on the table to proceed to do the investigation at a maximum of 59,000. All in favor? And that is carried. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby direct staff to proceed with the final circulation and review of the draft road occupancy permit, known as ROP, bylaw as outlined in staff report number RD 2026-002, and that council does hereby direct staff to bring forward the final bylaw for recommendation at the June 15th, 2026 meeting of council. Could I have a mover? Ken and Greg? All in favor? Okay, and that is carried. Thank you, Tom. And I have a motion that bylaw 2026-046, being a bylaw to write off taxes on properties in the Township of Seguin, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. And you have a report about why these are being written off in your council package. Can I have a mover? Gail and Terry? All in favor? Thank you. And we'll move to council reports. How about Ward 1 goes first?
Sorry about that. Since our last meeting, I attended the 3-day seminar for the OSUM in Perry Sound. Actually, I only attended 2 days because the one day was a tour of Perry Sound. I didn't really think I needed a tour of Perry Sound. On the 12th, I attended the Otter Lake Ratepayers Association general meeting. The mayor was there and Mario was there. It was a good meeting. I met with on Friday the 15th, I met with Tom for a meeting and also met Jason with a meeting just to go over some stuff. On the 20th, that's tomorrow. We don't need to add that one. That's my report. Thank you.
Mario?
Thank you. I also attended the Otter Lake Ratepayers annual general meeting. Got through most of it until my computer froze up, which seems to be a problem with the Zoom. Not sure why, but we got through the fundamentals. Not a problem. I also had checked the Otter Lake Road and down to the Otter Lake Marina where the township had put in new asphalt in the parking area, and I've been discussing with Tom about some opportunities for maintenance on that, and Tom's checking into that, and hopefully we'll be able to do something there. In terms of the transmission lines, I've been in contact with Hydro One, providing them with some information requests. And just to clarify, when I think in a previous meeting, I mentioned that the cost of underground transmission was about 10 times the cost of overhead. And that was back when I was still with the old Ontario Hydro. I'm sure it's probably more now. But the other thing, in addition to the fact that the overhead lines run at about 150 degrees Fahrenheit, if you put them underground, you have to put them in a kind of an oil-filled cable, which cools them down. That's very expensive. It's also armor on the cable, and typically they put a concrete cap on so that there aren't any accidental excavations over them. And typically what they do as well, because if there's a break in the line, if it's overhead, it's quite easy to find. If it's underground, it's not as easy to find. So in many cases, they will put in 4 circuits. So instead of having the 3 lines on a tower per circuit, you'll have 4 underground cables in case one breaks. It's a backup, and it's probably less expensive than trying to find and excavate and so on. So long and the short of it is it's a very expensive process to put things underground, and low voltage lines are different. They can be put underground a lot more. There are a few instances. I remember doing a study down in Windsor where there was underground cables going to Ford Motor Company from the transformer station. Very expensive, and yeah, I don't think there's any chance that we would be able to convince Hydro One to put anything underground here. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Getty?
Thank you, Mayor. I attended this year's Mayfest event at Humphrey Public School. It may have just been an optical illusion, but I think that there was actually more children participating with the event at the school this year than has traditionally been at the arena. It seems that at the arena, although there were children coming and going, there was more adults there. It seemed to be more participation and attendance by children, and more children helping out with the functions that were going on. So it was really nice to see. Had a committee of adjustment meeting. Also had a Rosso nursing station meeting. And from that, as everyone knows, through private donation, there's been one family has been funding the summer hours for the walk-in clinic at the nursing station. As a result of watching our pennies, there's actually a 2-year surplus for the funding now for the summer hours. So what that will do is that is being held in a reserve. If we lose that independent funding coming from a private donor, we won't lose the summer hours and the walk-in clinic. It'll give time to catch up through the fundraising, which is historically what the nursing station committee had been doing. We've also been impacted. One of the local doctors is retired that orphaned 500 patients in the Parry Sound area, of which 56 have been taken on and assigned to the Rosso nurse practitioner-led clinic. I'll just call it the nursing station. It's easier for me. And they are prioritizing children and chronic cases at this point, and they're about 10% through the intake process. They only have so much time available to them. And the other good news is that the provincial government has approved funding for a new nurse practitioner clinic to be funded for the West Parry Sound area. They are still in the process of site identification. They're going through a number of processes and a number of criteria for that. But what is exciting about it is traditionally when the funding is put in place, it is for a nurse practitioner, an RPN, and an administrative staff position. With this permanent funding, there are going to be 4 full-time positions included. One will be a pharmacist, one will be a physiotherapist, one will be a nutritionist, dietitian, and there is one other position that they are prioritizing, and that funding will be used. Those 4 positions will be spread and available throughout all of the nurse practitioner-led clinics in the West Parry Sound District, but it is huge to have, especially the pharmacist and the nutritionist, specific to the patients that are being dealt or being treated at the nurse practitioner clinics in West Parry Sound. So it is exciting news, and there's a lot of criticism, but hats off to the provincial government and to the West Parry Sound Health Group as well. Thank you.
Councillor Veller.
Thank you, Mayor. The first little while in this past month, I've been sort of focused on the high water levels in Lake Joseph, which didn't quite get to the level that they were in 2019, I don't believe, but they were high enough where Muskoka backfed Rosso, Little Lake Joe, and Joe, because it got so high in Muskoka. Significant damage in Muskoka. I had a very interesting call with Councillor Buzinski, who enlightened me on a couple of facts that I wasn't aware of. He's pretty knowledgeable about the watershed and how it's managed and why it really can't be managed the way it is. It was a series of control dams, not retention dams, and to try to manage it for water retention for power generation is just turned into one disaster after another. So hopefully maybe the province learns its lesson this time. Anyhow, happy to report that in the last week and a half, the water's down probably 8-9 inches, maybe a foot, I guess.
More than a foot on the river.
Is it? Yeah, it's dropping fast now, so, and they're still letting a lot of water out Bella. Yeah. On May 13th, I had a meeting of the Perry Sound Recreation and Cultural Center Board. You know, the business of the board is getting less and less as time goes on because we're getting so close to completion. It's more of opening logistics. Do we have enough, you know, whatever it is, supplies and this type of thing. And it's being, man, I look at what the YMCA's kind of the way they've organized things and the things they're purchasing. And I'm saying, boy, I'm glad we don't have to look after that because it's a big job, right? So people get really, really excited about the opening is imminent. So I just reminding everybody this Saturday night, you can come and have a look. It's pretty nice. You get a sneak peek. I think there's a couple of tickets left, not many, few. So, and you get a charitable receipt. So if you want to come and see a really nice facility, you should make a point of getting on Let's Make a Splash and buying a ticket if you're available. The third thing I just wanted to bring up with you guys is quite some time ago, Park to Park received a grant to develop and market the historical significance of the Seguin Trail. This is back when we thought Park to Park had a useful purpose until the ministry informed us that we really didn't. So, however, we hired a historian and it came up with, there's a total of 13 what do you call those, Jason? Pictorial boards? I guess they're probably about 6 feet by 4 feet.
8 at least.
Yeah, they're big and they're plexiglass, and there's 13 in total. One is not here because it's for the town of Perry Sound, and they wanted something special on it, so it wasn't quite done. The other 12, 9 of them are in Seguin Township. 3 of them are in the township, our neighbor to the east. I'd encourage you to drop by the arena office. I think Ken Griffith's got them in his office, and there's 2 that are open, and have a look at these things. They're really quite something. And I'm thinking at some point in time, we're going to install them along the trail at the site where these ghost towns and, you know, it's all this stuff that I didn't even know was there. But I think it'd be pretty cool because you'd never have them in one place again. That maybe we should look at, and I'm going to talk to the rec committee about it. Maybe we can put on, maybe somewhere, take them to some event and get some easels or something. And I think it'd be a really great thing to promote our trail, you know, for the township. So there's that. The other thing that I've spent a fair amount of time, matter of fact, I spent more than a fair amount of time. I spent a lot of time over in the arena in April. So I have a grandson that's quite engaged over the arena. And I'm happy to report it is very, very well used. I mean, it's busy every night, and tons of kids in there, tons of old kids that want to practice up, I guess, for the next season of Industrial League hockey, and a lot more people coming over from the other side because the spring ice over there is sold out. So staff's happy with it. I talked to Ken at length the other day, and he's a little happier keeping it in than taking it out, since it's cheaper and it's not as stressy on the building. So all in all, I think it's a really good move. We'll have to see what the numbers look like at the end, but I suspect they're going to look pretty good. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I wonder about the Seguin Trail signs being put up on Canada Day. Maybe.
We'll have a look at them.
That might be a place to tell people that they could see them.
Yeah.
Do they need to be indoors?
No, they're made to be outdoors, obviously, but we could put them,
Anyways.
somewhere where a lot of people are going to gather. I think they tell an interesting story. They really do. And they're extremely well done.
Good. Councillor Collins, your turn.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. May 6th, I had a meeting with a resident on Briquette Road with Tom and our CAO, Jason. May 7th, we had a Seguin business meeting. May 14th, a DSAB meeting. I attended. And coming up on May 29th, since we won't be joining each other, there is the District of Parry Sound Municipal Association in Kearney. There's 96 delegates registered already. Graydon Smith and James King will be attending. And Scott Atkinson sent his regrets. There's plenty of good feedback, especially on the agenda. As always, we have very good speakers. And delegate packages will be sent on Tuesday next week. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will be brief, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Gail. Yep. Sorry.
I'm
Sorry. Give me your stuff.
I think I'm just being quiet today, maybe. On April 21st, I did a lunch and learn. It was really lovely. We had the people come with Lifeline for our seniors, and very many of them got information and now have their lifelines on. I was really pleased. They were so happy. I was surprised at how much interest, but it was a really good lunch and learn. April the 22nd, I had a Belvedere Heights meeting. Everything there is going well. Renovations are on time. Parking's an issue, but that'll be an issue for some time. April 23rd, I went to the Path Forward in Magnetawan with the DSAB people. It was fantastic. It was wonderful. I sat with a man who was homeless and lived in the bush and then had a seizure and had a brain tumor. And it was just like the biggest story I've ever heard. I was in tears. And the DSAB went out and talked to him for a whole year before he trusted them enough to come. And now he's living in a beautiful place and he's happy. And it's just such a beautiful story. I was really impressed. April 24th, I was at a Pumpkin Fest meeting. They're already well on their way of planning. I will be doing all the paperwork for that. I've decided we'll take it outside of there and I'll just fill it in with Dominique or with the student. April 29th, I was at a Rossum Memorial Hall meeting. We have planned a fundraiser. Chelsea was there. She's quite fun. And we may be asking for your help there, Anne. April the 30th. Oh, I had an interview on April the 30th with the Ontario Health Teams for to be the community advocate committee on that committee. And that was really nice because it'd be really nice to know what's going on there. And so I'm excited about being on that committee. April the 6th, I had another Rosso Caring Community meeting planning the June lunch. We're having Sean Cotton come again to entertain the ladies and they're really excited. Everybody actually, the ladies really love the music and we're going to have that dancing this time. So anyway, on May the 14th, I went to a social DSAB meeting. They're just have so much going on there. It's very quite amazing. They're doing a great job. On the 19th, which was today, I was at a lunch and learn before I came here. So it was a really fabulous. DSAB came and they had a lot of information to share with seniors that there's things they can do that aren't big, like if you need wood cut, if you don't have enough wood. So it was a really informative, and I saw people afterwards, after question period, going up and asking questions. So I was pleased about that. So that's all I have, and everything went really well.
Good, thanks. When's the next lunch and learn?
June. I can't remember, it's the
Just the lunch and learns in Foley always send me their posters and then I send them out to you folks to spread. So I never get anything from Rosso to circulate to the libraries and stuff. So you might suggest that they get them in at least to Valerie, but to me to circulate.
Getting people.
No, I know.
We get from 30 to 50 people each time. So today it wasn't full, but
Just to publicize.
But yeah, I'll absolutely have that.
So April 27th, Jason Craig and I attended the emergency planning update with Sean leading. April 30th, we had the Tamarack North planning tour for our caterers and the people that'll be helping us on Saturday. May 6th, I had a meeting that was pretty exciting with Explorers Edge, talking about the Flixbus starting to come to the Parry Sound area airport. It already comes to Parry Sound McDonald's, and they're pushing to get it running more up Highway 400 in preparation for the FIFA visitors, because it's big in Europe, Flixbus. And many of the Europeans who are coming for FIFA have indicated an interest in a day trip to the north of Canada. So they will be stopping at the airport. Rocky Crest will be picking some of them up to play golf for the day, and then the bus going back at the end of the day. And we're looking at this a little bit as a test. Can we get tourism product to get them back and forth in a day? It's under $35 one way. It's very affordable. May 11th to 14th, I was in downtown Timmins, drove through 2 blizzards en route, and there's still a heck of a lot of snow on the ground up there. So be thankful you live in southern northern Ontario. It was a good meeting, well attended, a lot of people. Timmins doesn't really have convention facilities. We were in a hockey arena for 4 days. But it was a good meeting, and they had 6 ministers there most of Tuesday and all of Wednesday. And I participated in the first public consultation with Lisa Thompson, who's the Minister of Rural Affairs. They're doing outreach about a 3-pronged kind of new strategy. You'll see it in my report for the next council meeting, but some things that are interesting. She's an avid snowmobiler, so she has no idea why Ontario snowmobile trails are managed by volunteers, where in Quebec they can have full-time employees and they make 4 or 5 times what Ontario makes per kilometer of trails. So, hearing that from a minister, you kind of go, this lady knows what she's talking about. And she talks a lot about cross-ministry working on the same issue. So nobody was very happy for her to throw it in after the finish of Funham, but those of us that stayed felt it was worthwhile. And one of the things that came up at the business meeting that Ted mentioned, we had Chris McDonald, who's I guess he's the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, and he brought some pretty sad news to us, and it was confirmed last week that Canadore campus in Parry Sound is slated to close. And I think it's a role that council should take on, and Jason and I are working at trying to get a delegation at AMO, because it fits right in with what Lisa Thompson was talking about. If you want economic development in the north, you've got to train people in the north. So when Canadore, which is funded by the Ministry of Education, decides to close, do they think about the impact on the economic development and the training in Parry Sound? And we're not the only ones that this is affecting. She's saying, before Ministry of Education starts closing things, they got to talk to the other people, the other ministries. So I hope we'll get a bit of a audience at AMO to say, wait a minute. And we know that once Canadore goes, it's probably gone. And we need it for training healthcare professionals and the trades. So that was unfortunate, and it got confirmed when we were at Funham. May 15th, I think I was trained on how to work the electronic donor board at the Tamarack North Center. I paid attention. I tried it. We'll see if I can do anything to put new donors up on it or not. And today I was at a very busy library tea in Orville. And there were lots of people there. And then all of the pickleballers who were playing between 9:30 and 11:30 arrived at the tea, and the library was packed. So it was good to see it very, very busy. Couple things. If you will recall, it's time for the students to come on board, and we like to welcome them usually with barbecue. So Dominique has suggested that the best day for a council barbecue for staff would be Thursday, June 25th. And I'm hoping you can all put it on your calendar. I'll send out the regular email about who wants to cook, who wants to cut onions and tomatoes. But I think we've become a bit of an institution. It's been hamburgers and hot dogs. If anybody else has a other suggestion, speak up quickly before we get too far down. But Thursday, June 25th, I hope it can be all hands on deck. Well, food will be on at noon, but we'll probably need some help earlier in the morning. I'm sorry, is it a golf day? Can your golf? Can, but golf maybe could start after 2:30. We'll let you can start the early shift and leave in time for golf. Okay, great. And I'll be remiss to remind you that the party of the year is happening this Saturday at the Tamarack North Center, 6 to 9. We're closing in on our 200 tickets. The hard hats have been delivered. Everybody that's got a ticket will get an email this week telling them where to park and suggesting what they should wear, which is casual clothing. Last time I was in there, it was a chilly day and there is no heat in the building, but it was hot as anything this afternoon. And rubber-soled shoes are a must if you are attending to protect the gym floor. There's some pretty exciting live auction items, and 60 door prizes have been donated, and some of them are pretty substantial. So I hope I'll see all of you there. And that's my report. Over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Township wants to remind residents that 2026 is an election year. Being on the voters list for the last municipal or provincial election does not guarantee that you'll be registered for this one. So residents are encouraged to confirm their status by visiting register2vote.on.ca. Seguin staff participated in the Provincial Day of Action on Litter last Tuesday. Thank you to the residents and groups who also supported cleanup across the township. Many folks would be interested to learn that effective tomorrow, half-load restrictions will be lifted. Thank you to everyone in our community for their patience and cooperation in protecting our roads. Also wanted to thank the residents who shared their opinions and insight on the township's draft dark sky bylaw. Public consultation is now closed. Staff will amend the draft with the feedback in mind before another version is shared with council for potential adoption. Residents and visitors should be aware that surveillance at Seguin Township transfer stations has increased over the last several weeks to help deter illegal dumping. Cameras, which are in place, can capture and will capture license plate numbers, and we will be issuing fines to perpetrators. We appreciate that most users respect the rules related to waste disposal in Seguin, and staff are optimistic that the increased surveillance will help to keep our spaces clean, save some money, and of course support our environmental objectives. We have several community events that are upcoming. This week is Public Works Appreciation Week. On Thursday, the team will host classes from Humphrey Public School for interactive games and a chance to meet staff and see our large vehicles up close. As I noted during the public meeting earlier, the township's Parks and Recreation and Culture Master Plan project continues to advance. Seguin is hosting an open house on Thursday, May 28th. Residents can stop by the Humphrey Community Center between 5 and 7 p.m. to share their feedback on the draft plan. Of course, visit letsconnectseguin.ca to review the plan and for more information. Seguin's Recreation and Culture Committee is hosting a youth dance on Friday, June the 5th at the Humphrey Community Center. There will be refreshments provided by Loretta's Bakery, games and music by DJ Pamajawan and Company. Admission is free or by cash donation. The evening is designed for students from grade 5 to grade 8. And the township is hosting Family Fun Night on Friday, June 19th. Between 6 and 9 p.m. at the Rosso Waterfront. All are welcome for a free barbecue, games, and activities. And last but not least, the transition from the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority to the Township of Seguin for septic permitting continues. Generally speaking, most activities are very, very smooth. For those who have paid for a permit from North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority but didn't get the work completed, you should contact the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority and request your refund. As per their refund policy, I'm learning that there might be some hiccups in this process, and we have escalated this matter to the chair of the board of the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority with an update, asking for an update by the end of this week. If they choose to continue to make things difficult for Seguin residents, we will escalate the matter to the provincial authorities and ask for them to step in. This is not fair that they take money and don't deliver the service. So we will continue to fight for our residents and make sure that this gets resolved in short order. That's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you. Busy time. The roads are busier too. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the board and committee minutes and agendas and the correspondence as presented on the agenda and the addendum for May 19th, 2026 meeting of council. I need a mover. There you go. Greg, all in favor? And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby proceed to a closed meeting at 4:22 p.m. in order to address matters pertaining to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and it's related to a potential acquisition of land and a potential long-term lease. The second item is advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose related to the potential acquisition of land and waste management tipping fees, and a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on or on behalf of the municipality regarding waste management tipping fees and a potential long-term lease. Could I have a motion to move? Oh, great. All in favor? Thank you. So I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby rise from the closed session and declare the regular meeting reconvened at 5:15 p.m. Terry and Gail. All in favor? Thank you. And this is the motion for the Blackwater Road. I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-050, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement of purchase and sale for the purchase of all of PIN 52174-0090, being PCL 12446, Section SS, part of Lot 18, Concession 12, Christie, Parts 2 and 3, Plan 42R 15845, ST flooding rights as in PL 14, Seguin, and part of PIN 52174-0264, being part of Lot 17, Concession 12, Christie, Part 1, on PAN 42R 15845. Seguin, portion of intersection of Blackwater Road and Bradley Road is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. I have a motion. And Mary, all in favor? Thank you. I challenge anybody to read that fast. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby authorize a payment in the amount of $172,252.27 to the municipality of McDougall to pay for outstanding waste disposal tipping fees. Gail? And Ken? All in favor? And I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-048, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of meetings of council, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Mario and Ken, all in favor? If anybody ever votes against one of these, I'm gonna clobber. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn this meeting at 5:17 p.m. or to meet again on Monday, June 1st, 2026, or at the call of the mayor. Terry. Again. Gary, all in favor? Have a good evening.